Hello, beautiful people. I hope that wherever you are in the world, that you are doing well and that you are taking care of yourselves. I'm Chris Danker, and this is Let the Adventure Begin. Let the Adventure Begin with Chris Danker podcast. Hey, welcome to episode 144. I'm calling this episode Attention to Detail. So I'm going to tell you a little story that made me think about how we all need to do a better job of paying attention to details, to be more observant, so to speak. So my husband and I recently went on a little getaway, and we went down to Kansas City. A few years ago, we stumbled upon a coffee shop in nearby Lee's Summit, Missouri. We were looking for a coffee shop. It's one that popped up. We went there, and they have the cutest downtown area in Lee's Summit. And so we went to Whistle Stop, and we're like, anytime we're in Kansas City to watch a baseball game, we will come here. And so we've been doing that. Well, this year was a little different, because rather than staying in a hotel when we went down to watch our beloved Astros play the Kansas City Royals, we decided to look for a bed and breakfast. Lo and behold, there was a bed and breakfast downtown Lee's Summit within walking distance of the Whistle Stop coffee shop that we enjoy, and all the shops that we like to check out. So we're like, okay, we're going to do this. So we booked the historic Browning for a couple of days, and it was great because, as luck would have it, when we went down on a Friday night, they do an art walk on the fourth Friday of every month. So it was the fourth Friday when we went down. And then they have their farmers market on Saturdays, and their farmers market had already gotten started. So, we really felt like we hit the jackpot with being able to be down there at this time. And so we go and we get checked into our bed and breakfast, and we go down to the art walk. And my husband and I, we went to a restaurant to eat, but on our way there, we met this wonderful lady. Her name, I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Ailene. I would pronounce it Aileen. So I hope I'm correct. And I'm going to put her information in the show notes, because she is from Shawnee Mission, Kansas, and she gets stone, and she carves crosses out of it. It's a very dense Texas stone. And so we haven't done too much landscaping yet in our new home. And we decided, hey, we're going to buy one of these. And she said, hey, my husband will help you load it up in your car. And we're like, well, we didn't drive downtown because we're only staying a few blocks away, so we'll just carry it. And she's like, I don't know if you're going to be able to carry it. And her husband jumped in, and he said, well, he goes, you'll be able to, but you might need to take breaks along the way. Man, was he right. She handed that stone to my husband, and it was like, oh my gosh, she was not kidding when she said the stone is dense. I don't know how much the stone weighs, but my husband and I did make a joke later on that this was literally our cross to bear, because we were taking turns carrying this. And I tell this story because in this story, people were not paying attention to the details. Here were two people, middle-aged, late aged, and we're carrying this obviously heavy stone, and people are asking us, oh, what's that you're carrying? And my husband would go, can't talk, it's a cross. And and we're saying these things as we're trying to shuffle through. And this happened to us 2 or 3 times, but in a 4 to 5 block walk. And so we were cracking up, number one, at the whole scene of, people asking, and my husband going, we don't have time to talk. But, obviously this piece of stone is very heavy. And so we're not going to be able to stop and have a conversation about it. So that was an example of not paying attention to the details, not observing what's going on around you. Now, the flip side is the exact opposite. At the bed and breakfast, the historic Browning, the owners, Cynthia and Kevin, are originally from California, Northern California. I am going to put their website in the show notes as well, because my goodness, you have to, if you're ever in the Kansas City, Lee Summit area, you have to stay at the historic Browning, because they are the consummate hosts, number one. And number two, Cynthia just really pays attention to detail. So on the first morning, she is a fantastic chef. She, cooking. She had a catering business at one time. She has such a great story and multiple stories about her experiences as far as catering and cooking and being a chef. And she made a wonderful breakfast. And then my husband and I were talking about different things, just, off the cuff, just regular conversation. Or so we thought, about some of our likes and everything. And like I said, she paid attention to the fact that I'm vegetarian, and yet my husband is a meat eater, so she took that into consideration. And so the next morning for breakfast, first of all, she texted us when she heard us upstairs. She heard us that we were moving around. And she knew that the two coffee shops downtown were closed on Sundays. And so she texted my husband and said, "Tell Chris that I can make her a fancy coffee." And so she asked what flavors I liked. And I said, "Oh, I like vanilla caramel, nothing too outrageous, but I'm not a, coffee drinker. I take my coffee black with nothing in it. I am a foo-foo coffee drinker where I can barely taste the coffee." And then in and amongst that, she also let my husband know that she had bought him a Diet Coke, because he had mentioned that a lot of times he has Diet Coke in the morning. And so she had paid attention to that detail. So we went downstairs and we get ready to eat breakfast. She brings me this delightful cup of coffee and she goes, "Yeah, I didn't have any caramel syrup, so I made my own." I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, you talk about amazing and someone who goes the extra mile. She used that in my coffee, and then she used that also as a caramel syrup to put on the waffles that we made. And we talked about, how do I get my protein, being a vegetarian. And I told her, I said, I'm really actually pretty bad at it. I struggle with getting enough protein. So what she did, since she knew in passing conversation that I like peanut butter, she made the waffles with peanut butter and flaxseed so that I would get more protein. I was just blown away, because here was someone who listened, who was observant, who didn't, just jump on board and say, "Oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this for you." She just did it and then talked about it afterwards. And it just, really made me think about how, these two different stories makes us think about how in some situations we're not observant, as in my husband and I are carrying this heavy stone and people are wanting to ask questions and it's like, this is not the right time, to the opposite of someone being so observant and paying attention to the details. And I think we all need to do a much better job of paying attention to the details. When we're talking to someone and we're listening to what they're saying, not thinking about how we're going to respond, but actually listening to what they're saying. Because you never know how we can take what they're saying to turn around and do something kind for that person. We can store something in the back of our minds, or if, like me, our memory is not so hot, write a note or put a note in your phone to remember something about someone that you can come back to just really let them know that you were seeing them, you were hearing them, you were paying attention. in any kind of moment that seems very routine, we can really make someone's day without them realizing that we have made a note of something that they were talking about. And so I just thought that was really, really special how that Cynthia really, paid attention to the details, and she really made us feel at home and just cared for. And honestly, we just cannot wait until we go back down to Lee's Summit again to stay at the historic Browning bed and breakfast. And so if you are ever in the area, check them out. Like I said, Cynthia does all the cooking. Kevin does all the handyman work, and they are just quite an amazing duo. So pay attention to details. See where you can make a difference in someone else's life, like Cynthia did for my husband and me. I hope you're having a fabulous week, and until next week, I hope you let your adventure begin. Peace.